Welcome to Love in Life, a guide to a positive mindset. My aim is to show you that the key to a happier and more positive mind is to love the life you have. We will look at tips and tools you can use to improve your mindset, and the best thing is, we'll all be on this journey together. Hi everyone! How is your October going? I can't believe we're nearly at the end of October already. It only seems like yesterday that I was saying, I can't wait for October. October's my favourite month. And I have to say, I have actually been quite disappointed because in a strange way, I want the weather to be colder. Like, I don't normally say that, but the thing about October for me is like seeing everything change, getting your jumpers out, putting your coat on. But I don't know where you are in the world, but here in the UK, we're still getting like 19, 20 degree heat every day. So it's just, it's a bit mental at the moment, to be honest. So I am really hoping for a little bit colder weather soon. Not rain, universe. No, like I said, not rain, just a little bit colder. So as I can wrap up and go for some nice autumn walks. How's your half term going if you've got kids? Ours is going all right. Done quite a few things with the kids, and we are currently in Cornwall. Not at the time of recording this, but when you listen to this, I will be in Cornwall. So I'm kind of hoping that by the time we are, the weather, I'm sure it'll be a little bit windier down there. It always is. I love Cornwall in the autumn half term. It's something we always used to do until about, well, actually thinking about it, until the pandemic. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm sure I'll be posting a few pictures on my stories and on my Instagram. And I have to say, Cornwall has been a massive inspiration for decorating my house. And because whenever we go down to Cornwall, especially in the autumn, like sometimes we'll camp in the summer, but when we go down in the autumn half term, we'll usually hire an old cottage. And obviously we've got an old cottage. So that was a massive inspiration for us when we were decorating. And one of my friends actually said to me, it's like you've got your own little piece of Cornwall in Bristol. So I love that. So when I'm down there, I'm actually going to have a look out for some artwork that I can display in the house. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. So if you listened last week, you may remember that I said I now have a coach. So I've had my coaching session, and as I said, we are doing some shadow work. I'm not quite ready to share what we've been working on just yet, but what I am ready to share is how wiped I was the following day. So we spent a good almost 3 hours, it's at least 2.5 hours, talking about me. And that is really bloody difficult. It's so draining to think about yourself, like to put yourself in the spotlight for that long, and not talk about sort of anybody else or have anybody else's stories. Do you know what I mean? It's all focused on you for that time. So that is obviously so beneficial, but it does wipe you. And the following day, like normally, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I love that. There's not much that stops me doing that. But the following day, I had to turn my alarm off when it went off at 5 o'clock, and I didn't get up until about 7:30. I was knackered. So it just made me think the following day, make sure that I prioritise self-care. And it got me thinking, what is self-care and why is it important? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So these days, I'm sure you'll agree, most of us have quite fast-paced lives. We try and cram in so much, and we put so much pressure on ourselves to not sit still. I know I do this all the time. I'm a nightmare for it. I feel guilty if I sit down not doing anything, and that's absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. So yeah, most of us have fast-paced lives, and this can quickly lead to stress. So what is stress? What are the signs of stress? So feeling anxious or worrying. If you're unable to concentrate, that might be a sign that you're feeling a little bit stressed. Sometimes if our body just doesn't feel right, So if you're achy or if you just feel a little bit more ill than you normally would, that can be a sign as well. If you're feeling sad or generally unhappy and you're unable to see the positive side of things, or if you, again, I guess similar to feeling overwhelmed, so everything feels like it's getting on top of you and you feel like you've got so much to do and no time to do it. If you become irritable or short-tempered, that can be a sign of stress. If you're feeling more tired than usual, or sometimes you just feel lonely, you feel like everybody has got so much going on and people don't have time for you, or you don't have time for anybody else, that is your sign to take a little step back and have a little bit of self-care, have a little bit of self-love. It's important to recognise signs of stress so as you can do something about it and avoid facing burnout. There are other times when self-care is required as well. So we all, like most of my listeners, are women. If you're not a woman, then don't worry, because I'm sure this affects you as well. But hormones, like we all have that time of the month or time of the 3 weeks, as it is in my case at the moment, or every, whatever your cycle is, we all have that period of time in our cycle where we just feel upset about everything and we just feel irritable and, we just need love, whether that's from us, whether that's from somebody else. But obviously, if you're showing yourself that self-care, that self-love, then you are in charge of your own feelings and emotions. Also, in times of grief as well. So whether you're grieving after a death of a family member or a friend, or maybe you're grieving a friendship or the end of a relationship, these are the times that self-care is so, so important. So what is self-care? So as the name suggests, self-care is what we do to take care of ourselves. Unfortunately, though, in times of stress and overwhelm, we tend to forget the very things that might make us feel better. We don't prioritise them, we forget them, and we certainly don't make time for them. So what kind of thing do you think of when I say self-care? What do you associate with self-care? So for a lot of people, me included, when I first hear self-care, I think of things like having a bath, lighting candles, getting your hair done or your nails done, having a massage. And whilst those things are lovely and they are great, those are sort of indulgent self-care activities. And like I said, they are great. But there are some more mindful self-care activities that we can do. So the first one is something that you wouldn't necessarily associate with self-care, which is doing a puzzle. So doing a puzzle or doing, word searches or crosswords, something that keeps your mind active. Puzzles are really good for this. And whenever we go away, actually, I remember last time we stayed in Cornwall, and the cottage that we stayed in had this lovely puzzle, and the whole family sort of got involved, and Craig and I just got so obsessed with it, and we didn't go to bed until like 1:30 in the morning because we had to finish it. That's probably not great for self-care, but that's another thing I was going to say, actually. I remember buying a puzzle when we were in lockdown, and I had one of the kids home with me, and we do like doing puzzles. So we went to buy a puzzle, and I thought it'd be a great idea to buy this stupid bloody puzzle. It had the most amazing New York scenery on it, but the puzzle pieces were like half the size of normal puzzle pieces. And honestly, it was the most frustrating thing ever. So let's rethink that. Puzzles are great, but don't make it too hard for yourself. Yeah, I do love a puzzle though, and it does make you feel really good when you've accomplished it. Another great method of self-care is reflection time. So whether this is journaling, meditation, I know some people don't like to journal, some people don't like to meditate, but find what works for you, find what calms you. So something that is also quite effective is just literally if you open up your hand and have a flat palm and just place it on your heart, directly on your heart, and then just stop, feel your heartbeat, and just really connect with your heart, connect with your breathing. And straight away, this just makes you feel so much calmer. So if you can take just 10 quiet breaths, holding your hand on your heart and just really connect with your heart, that is really quite powerful. So give that a try. Like, do it right now if you're able to. You can go for a walk. And I find this is so effective if you go out for a walk just for the hell of it. So not going for a walk to go to the shops, or not going for a walk because you have to take the dog out. Like, by all means, take the dog with you, but don't do it for another purpose, if that makes sense. Just do it for the hell of it. Do it for you. Do it with intention of it being self-care. And if you can sort of do this in nature, then that's all the better, really, because obviously nature, trees, countryside, it's proven that does help us connect with the earth and our surroundings. But if you're not able to do that, that's absolutely fine. Like, we still have some amazing surroundings around us. And, just focus on, even if you're walking through your neighbourhood, just focus on the trees. You don't need to look at the houses. Focus on the trees. Focus on people's gardens. That's a great way to sort of try and take in nature, even if it's not easily accessible to you. And obviously, walking and any form of exercise really does release endorphins, which obviously, as we know, does make you happy. Endorphins help you cope with pain and they help maintain well-being. They also release dopamine, so that gives you like a natural high. So not only walking, but just exercise in general releases endorphins. And it also releases serotonin. Serotonin just generally makes you feel good. It makes you sleep well. It helps with digestion. We know that serotonin is just amazing. And did you know that you can also release serotonin through eating things like tofu, and there are certain dairy products, as you know, I wouldn't normally advocate dairy products, but I'm going to for the purposes of this podcast. But apparently, certain dairy products like milk and cheese releases serotonin. Nuts and seeds, pineapples apparently release serotonin. And green leafy vegetables like spinach, broccoli, and kale. So there are lots of ways that we can release serotonin. And just eating healthy in general is a great way to take care of yourself, great self-care. At this time of year, I don't know about you, but I love the sort of really seasonal flavours at this time of year. So I do like making a soup with root vegetables and anything with like cinnamon or nutmeg in it. I just find that anything I cook at this time of year, I can sort of add those flavours to it. And not only is it really nutritious, but it just feels good. Another form of self-care would be to, if this is what you need, to be around your family or friends. Like, listen to your inner voice and hear who you should be around. Think of past experiences where people have made you feel better and be around those people. Like, that is a form of self-care as well. Although for some people this might be triggering. So if your family do tend to trigger your emotions, then obviously that would be a little bit different, and it's probably best not to spend time with those people. But yeah, spend time with the people that make you feel good. Similarly, it might make you feel good to be alone. So if having a little bit of time alone, going for a walk on your own, going shopping on your own, just spending 5 minutes in the bedroom on your own, just having a little break away from people. If you're feeling overwhelmed being around people, then being alone might well be what you need. I kind of mentioned journaling earlier, but journaling is such a good way to make you feel good, as long as you journal about the right things. So, for example, you could write a list of all the things that make you feel good about yourself, all the qualities that you feel you have that make you a good person, a nice person. Journal those things out. And if you feel like it, sometimes, as I said earlier, sometimes journaling doesn't work for people and it triggers people in the wrong way. If it makes you feel bad, then that isn't self-care. But some people find it helpful to journal about things that make them feel bad. And because journaling can sometimes, if you just get into a rhythm, like just write crap and you never know what might come up. And sometimes it helps you to see what kind of things you're suppressing and what kind of emotions you're not letting yourself feel just by journaling and just going with the flow. So do what feels good for you. Yoga is something else that's really great for self-care. And whilst this kind of falls into the exercise category, it's not all about stretches and meditation. To get into some yoga poses, it takes a great deal of discipline and breathing. So, this is a really effective thing to do. But also because it takes a lot of determination, it's also, kind of falls into keeping your mind sharp as well, like puzzles did. Yoga, you have to be aware, you have to be present when you're doing this, you have to focus. So yoga not only is a great form of exercise and stimulation, but it's a great way to keep your mind active as well, whilst being calming, if that kind of makes sense. Something that is essential for self-care is sleep. So they say that 7 to 9 hours is the optimum sleep time. So you have to listen to what your body needs. If you are the kind of person that feels great on 6 hours, then that's fine. You know your body. But obviously the guide is 7 to 9 hours of good sleep. So it would be helpful in an ideal world not to, for example, fall asleep to the TV. Like, fall asleep with intention if you can. And this is hard because this is something that I like to do, but Craig doesn't really like to do this. He likes to fall asleep with the TV on, or sort of it helps him relax and go to sleep, whereas I just want to go straight to sleep. And so it is quite difficult. I have to kind of zone out. If Craig's still watching something, then I have to zone out and fall asleep with intention. So as I know that I am getting a good intentional sleep, if that makes sense. You have to listen to your body as to how much you need. And obviously, if you're an early riser like I am, then you will probably need to be in bed early as well. So because my alarm goes off at 5 a.m. every morning, we are normally in bed by 8:15. And obviously we don't go to sleep straight away, but I normally try and be asleep by about 9:30, 10 o'clock at the latest. But you just have to obviously work backwards. If you get up a little bit later, then obviously you can afford to go to sleep a little bit later. But just make sure that you are getting enough rest, getting enough good sleep. Sometimes what we need is a bit of a break from social media to take care of ourselves. So obviously self-care is being aware of what is good for you. And a lot of us spend a lot of time throughout the day, throughout the evenings, we do it without realizing. We scroll through social media, and your brain just needs a break from that every now and again. So make sure that you set time aside to either switch your phone off or, put your phone in another room so you can't be distracted by it. But just make sure that, we all need to make sure that we're getting time away from our screens, in particular social media, because social media does play a big part in self-awareness, self-esteem, criticizing ourselves, comparing ourselves to others. Obviously we would do these things anyway because that is something that has evolved over time, but social media just really exaggerates those things. So make sure you take time away from social media. Something that is so easy as well, which I saw as I was sort of researching for this episode, an idea that I came across was changing your sheets, your bed sheets regularly. Like, what an easy thing to do. Like, obviously we should be doing this anyway, but by intentionally, like for a reason, changing your bed sheets so as you get into bed feeling clean, feeling lovely and cozy, rather than like only changing it at, whatever interval you change your sheets. I'm not here to judge, and you probably wouldn't want to judge me either. But, whatever interval we tend to change it is because we have to. It's because we know we should. Whereas if you're putting clean sheets on to make yourself feel good, that is completely different. So that is something I'm going to try, actually. And then let's not forget the most obvious forms of self-care, which some people might say are a little bit indulgent, but hey, we've all got to do what makes us feel good. So some other ways to care for ourselves is the obvious one: take a bath. Or for some people, this might be, they might prefer to have a shower, but have again, I keep using the word intentional, but having a long, indulgent bath or shower just has a great way to make us feel good. And, think of how well you sleep after you've had a warm bath before you go to bed. And, okay, I'm going to put something out there now as well. How about if you had time, or if you're feeling really shit one day and you think, fuck it, I need to make time for myself, why don't you have a bath during the day? I've done this a couple of times and it feels weird because it kind of feels like you shouldn't be doing it, but that is what makes it more indulgent. So we tend to do it either in the evenings or on a Sunday. And if we're going to have a bath during the day, it would tend to be on a Sunday, but I'm talking on a Wednesday when work starts getting on top of you and you start feeling overwhelmed. Take an hour. If you work from home, you'll be lucky enough to do this. If you don't, then I don't really know what to suggest, but there we go. That's for you to decide. But yeah, taking a bath during the day, like that is proper indulgent. And if you can light some candles and read a good book, like personally, I love a self-development book, as you know, but not everybody does. You might like a good fiction. You might like a good romance novel or whatever floats your boat, Get in the bath, light some candles, have some bubbles, lock the door so as nobody can disturb you, and just enjoy the peace and quiet. Another one that is quite obvious and also quite indulgent is doing things like getting your hair done regularly, getting your nails done regularly. This is something that I promised that I would do myself. I do get my hair done regularly because I've got an amazing hairdresser. So when I remember to book in, when we both manage to come together, I do get my hair done regularly. My nails, on the other hand, now do you remember when I broke my hand? I go on about it all the time, so I'm sure you do. But I've got a nail that is like, it's going to fall off. So I've got the new nail growing underneath. I don't know why I need to share this, but hey, we're in it now. I've got the new nail growing underneath and it's pushing my old nail, the one that's dying, up. So it's halfway up my finger. So I guess I could get a two-tone nail done. Why not? But yeah, that was one thing that was on my vision board last year. And then I went and broke my hand and it wasn't quite as easy to get my nails done, quite as enjoyable, you know. But that's something I'd love to get back into. But just, you know, self-care that makes us feel good about ourselves as well. That we think, yeah, I look good when I get my hair done. I look good when I've got my nails done. Things like that. If it makes you feel good, then bloody well do it. For some people, massage would be a good form of self-care. Taking part in a hobby. So whether that's a sport, whether it's something that's creative, so painting or crafting, something, again, that makes you feel good. Going shopping, spending a bit of money on yourself. Why the hell not? Even if you're just window shopping, or even if you just go and buy one thing that makes you feel good. Go to a coffee shop on your own and go and sit and have a coffee. Take your favourite book with you. You could watch the world go by. Like, it's so lovely to do things like this on our own. Don't get me wrong, it's lovely to do it with other people, but I think how lovely to do it on your own and enjoy your own company. That makes me think as well, actually, of my neighbour who whenever she feels like it, she will go to the theatre and watch a show on her own. Like, who has the confidence to do that? I totally fucking admire her for that. I just think that is such a lovely thing to do. She knows to take herself off and do something that makes her feel good, and fair play to her, she does it. Something else I love to do at this time of year is watch seasonal films. So my favourite is The Holiday. That's always my first go-to seasonal film. Normally I've watched it by now, but like I said earlier, I just can't, because the weather is still so warm and lovely, I just can't get into, I can't enjoy a seasonal film when the weather's like this. So I'm going to wait till the right time. But that is like a great form of self-care, is putting on one of your favourite feel-good films, whether it's a feel-good film, a romantic film, a funny film, like something to raise your vibration and make you laugh. That is a lovely way to take care of yourself. So all these things that I've mentioned, basically, self-care is anything that makes you feel better. Self-care is totally unique to each and every one of us. So there might be some things that I've listed that you think, fucking hell, that would not make me feel better. And that's fine. Like, don't do that. We all have to do what makes us feel better. There's some things that you might do that I think, bloody hell, there's no way that would make me feel better. So, you know, don't feel that because I've said that, it makes everybody feel better. These are just suggestions that you could try for yourself. And if something sort of sparked a chord with you and you thought, oh yeah, then do it. So what I want you to also remember when you're doing these things, when you're taking care of yourself, when you're prioritizing yourself, I need you to remember that self-care is not selfish. It's not a one-time experience. So just having one bath isn't going to make you feel better for the rest of your life. You have to continually care for yourself. And it doesn't have to be time consuming. Like if you're the kind of person that always has something on, you can find something to make yourself feel better, to take care of yourself. That only takes 5 minutes. I think the important thing is to do it intentionally. So do it with the intention of caring for yourself, of making yourself feel better, of raising your vibration, of making yourself happier. Do it with the intention, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. If you've got a spare hour every week, then that's amazing. Make the most of it. But not everybody has, so please don't beat yourself up if you can only spend 5 minutes on yourself. Like 5 minutes is better than nothing, which a lot of us don't do, or certainly don't prioritise anyway. I do apologise if you can hear George shouting in the background. He's all of a sudden got very vocal on whatever game he's playing with his friends. So the one thing I want you to do this week, I would like you to prioritise 1 hour to yourself. Or like I said, please don't feel that if you can't dedicate a whole hour, that's absolutely fine. I totally get it. I find it difficult sometimes myself as well, but prioritise half an hour, an afternoon, whatever you can manage. Prioritise a space of time for self-care this week. And I want you to schedule it in. So if you find that Fridays are nice and quiet for you, then put out an hour in your calendar that you can do some self-care and decide what you're going to do. If you need to prepare for this, so what I mean by that is if you have children that you want to do something for self-care, but you find it difficult because you've got children, make sure you prepare for it. So if you need to ask your partner or your the father of your children or their grandparents, your parents, or a friend, if you need to prepare for it in some way, then do it, because the more prepared you are for it, the more chance there is of it actually happening. So please prioritise a space of time within this next week, schedule it in and decide what you're going to do. Like, it doesn't really matter if it changes as long as you do something. And when you've done it or when you're doing it, I would love for you to take a photo, and you don't have to be in it, but just take a snap of some sort. And I would love for you to pop it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it, just so as we can start sharing with people what we all are doing. And then I will share these out to people. If you tag me in it, I can then share it, and then it might give somebody else an idea of some form of self-care that they can do. Let's help each other out. So please do tag me in it. As always, I'll put the link in my show notes. But yeah, I can't wait to see what everybody does for self-care this week, and I will share some of mine as well. And let's all help each other. Let's all support each other. Actually, that's a good point. If you recognise that you have a friend or a family member who could do with some help prioritising self-care, then suggest it to them and help them out. If they have children, and you could offer to take them for, even if it's just half an hour, so as this person has some time for some self-care. Like, what a lovely thing to do. In fact, I'm going to do that for my sister. Have a great week, everyone. Take care of yourself, and I can't wait to see those self-care ideas coming through. Bye.